What's one word that sums up the market at the moment?
One word, I would probably say
You're still clearly seeing transactions taking place.
market's still moving in a positive direction.
People are feeling really frustrated because of the murkiness of it. They don't understand what's going on and why.
Yeah, I
Well,
didn't want to
we
say it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Is there any strategies that could help people with?
Never leave your offer there.
Because it doesn't actually affect your borrowing capacity that much. It's about 2% increase.
Talk about 3 Ds when you're selling or buying. It's death, divorce, and debt.
What's some positives you can take from this market?
People are unsure. Is that you can use that to your advantage by getting the relevant information.
When's the right time to buy?
Uh,
Welcome back to another episode of That Backyard Property Pod. I am so excited because I have someone who is an expert in the Perth property market, probably the best buyer's agent in the Perth property market. He's been on before. He's back again. Rowen Powell, Verve. Welcome.
Thanks for having me again, Michael. Always a pleasure to be here.
There's going to be so much we can unpack around the market. There's obviously a lot of commentary around it. And so today I wanted to have some sort of positive spin on it. But I'd love to start off with, what's one word that sums up the market at the moment?
One word, I would probably say murky, just because it's probably not as transparent as everyone's wanting it to be and probably needs to be. So that's probably the word I would describe the market at the moment.
That's good. Murky's good because it resonates with how I'm feeling about it as well.
Well, I think it would resonate with lots of people. Obviously, the shortage of stock, there's still transactions occurring, but it's just like, how are you determining value with a lack of stock, a lack of comparables over a period of time, and obviously like a lot of noise from interest rates and external parties. I think it just makes it, not as clear as it probably should be.
You're still clearly seeing transactions taking place.
Yeah, there's a significant amount. Like they're still occurring, and the market's still moving in a positive direction. It's just the fact that it's just a lot faster, and it's separated by buyers that are probably in the know and ones that aren't, and who have been looking for some time.
It's funny because what's the time on market at the moment? 8 days or something?
Yeah, I was going to say 7 to 8 days.
Yeah. And so you're really getting one home open or a Saturday and a Sunday home open, and then it's gone generally? Is that the sort of speed we're looking at?
Yeah, it depends on obviously the agent's strategy. Some do like an end date sale and like having the 4 or 5, but if it's a popular product in a good area, sometimes you might get like a Thursday, Saturday, and they're closing on Saturday night, Sunday morning, or if someone puts a strong offer on a Thursday night after they've been through, or if you've got good relationships, maybe with a buyer's agent, you could go through with photos on the Tuesday and you put a strong offer, you enticing the seller to probably take something before it goes to open. Obviously, it's a pretty highly competitive market, so it's just understanding where that value is.
I think the other thing I'm seeing a lot is people are feeling really frustrated because of the murkiness of it. They don't understand what's going on and why. And the other thing is also feeling despondent by not being able to get an offer accepted. And so there's almost all these, and there's all the outside noise as well. Is that the feeling that you're getting as well?
Not so much, because we obviously, the way that I work is I remove all that noise, and you kind of have all the information in front of you. I talk like buying home, like doing a jigsaw puzzle. Like unless I have all the pieces in front of me that I can actually put together. Whereas when you're doing it yourself, you're missing a few key pieces in that sense. You don't know what things have sold for, how many offers are on the table on a property that you're comparing to. Did someone overpay? Is that where market value is? What's the buyer pool? What other properties are coming up if I'm to pay for this property and pay the premium or pay the price to get in? Is there a better property around the corner? And that's the thing that a lot of people don't know. And then that's the fear of being like, well, you're telling a buyer to jump before anyone else. And then there's all the concerns. You're getting your brother and sister, you're getting someone tell you that this is what's going on. And then it does become almost all too consuming as well.
How do you block that noise out other than getting a buyer's agent to help you through that process?
It's getting as much information as you can collectively. So asking the right questions with the sales agents, doing your own research about areas. But it just comes down to like basic fundamentals of buying a home. Like, why are you buying it? Like, obviously that's what we specialize at Verve, is home buying. You're living in it for 10, 20, 30 years. Like, what is the strategy? I mean, it's the simple ideology of best house, best street, best location, like something that's a no-brainer. I think that's what people probably need to gravitate towards. And I'm seeing buyers are very astute in that. Things that are on main roads, things that are compromised, buyers aren't jumping all over it. But if it's a good product when it does come up, that's when you need to try and secure it.
What other aspects could compromise a property?
Like development proposals, like housing authority,
Oh, yeah.
streetscape, busyness of the road, orientation as well. Like obviously everyone loves a north-facing backyard, so you get the natural sunlight. Like sometimes people don't like facing south. Undulation of the land. There's all these factors that go into it when you're purchasing a home. And as you said, you might go through Thursday, Saturday, and you're going through for a short period of time, whereas you probably need to know it's coming up beforehand, do your research, do drive-bys, really do a thorough conversation with one another and go, well, is this what we're buying and why we're buying it as well?
You're probably making, I think, what was that quote that you had? I think that was actually the first.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 13 minutes. Yeah.
13 minutes.
Yeah.
It's such a short period of time.
And then you're getting jam-packed with like hundreds of people. If it's a good product, like depending on price points at the moment, you're getting 9 to 10 offers and some at the low twos because that's where a lot of buyers are at the moment. And then so you're competing and it gets to a point where it's like, this is where you need to be. They might be asking 2 and it's at 2.3, 2.4. So it's 400 grand above where the asking is. And that it's pretty uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Do you find that asking price is very much dependent on the agent as well? There's a part of me that I see some properties listed for a certain price and everything I can see that's comparable sold for a significantly higher price. And all of a sudden there's a bit of this bait pricing in the market.
Yeah, and that's where like years of experience come in. So you've got to understand what their strategy is normally. Like everyone's different. Some people price it lower to get more competition. Some people price it higher to maybe catch someone out to pay the price, and they work their way down. Some people might not put a price on it at all, because it might be a bit of a unicorn in the market and hard to price, so it needs market feedback. So there's a lot, like that's probably what the good use of the word murky. There's a lot of information and you're not quite sure which ones you probably need to look at, which ones are more favourable than others. And that's how people are like, well, it's not as transparent as it probably should be.
It's certainly not, because then you add in the way to purchase and you've got the open by negotiation. You're starting to see a few more auctions appear, which is not a traditional method of sale here, unlike Sydney and Melbourne. How do you navigate that? Like, I don't imagine as a buyer's agent you're really in the position to do the open negotiation or the auction, or you're finding yourself having to because of that method?
It depends on the method. So like open negotiation, I tend to do things a little bit differently. I won't reveal all my cards on that one. But obviously you don't want to get caught up in that because sometimes you can be bidding against yourself. So, and the same with auctions. Auctions are becoming a bit more common because we are lacking transparency. So then you've got an accurate representation, but it also depends on the product. So if it's a land value parcel in Claremont and it's pretty common what the pricing is going to be, you can actually get higher prices because everyone's like, well, I see value there. Whereas when you're doing it for like a high-end home, it has to suit that person's lifestyle and requirements. So it might be 1 or 2 buyers. Whereas if you've got something that's a bit more of a blank canvas, you could have 10. So it's case by case, and then like the other strategy of like the typical O&A expressions of interest, it's all about timing and strategy of when you do present an offer. If you think it's within the realm to buy it and shows value, and obviously going back to why you're buying it, it's really important.
Do you have any strategies that on that O&A expressions of interest? Is there any strategies that you could help people with?
You've got to ultimately decide if you're first or last. So never leave your offer there. So if you're going first, you go hard to buy the property. If you're last, you're trying to get that last right of refusal. So you kind of know where everyone's might be sitting and you're asking as much information as possible. But you don't want to present something on say for example, it's a Thursday evening home open. You present something Friday that you know they're going to have a home open Saturday and your offer's on the table. You don't want that to be leveraged. Not that the agent will, but you have the potential to be outbidded pretty comfortably. Whereas if you leave your cards close to your chest, obviously when you're writing the O&A, understand what the seller's motivation is, what settlement dates. We are in a heavily favoured sellers market, like the most extreme we've ever seen. So obviously still writing a good contract that protects you for the building and pest, good working orders, but making sure it's not too difficult for the seller so that they go and work with someone else and the contract's too weighted and too difficult to work through, because if you're having 8 offers and someone's asking for every key and every lock and all these difficult things, you're just going to be like, the seller rather take an extra 15 grand less because they probably think you're too difficult to work with. So you've really got to understand who you're up against and the seller's motivation. If it's the settlement date that works for them, maybe you can reduce your price a little bit, give them a rent back. There's all these different strategies you can use.
Yeah, the rent back's an interesting one we've discussed previously. The way to purchase a property just continues to change. I think that's the hardest thing I find talking with buyers that haven't used a buyer's agent, is that they're so confused and the murkiness of it. I guess you can, when you sit with someone, you can be pretty clear about, this is our strategy, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. But that timing, you couldn't tell them when that property will come to market that they want to buy as well.
Yeah, it's also just like being more efficient with your time.
Mm.
So like a lot of people go to home opens that just aren't suitable. It's a complete waste of your time. Like remove that, scrap it. If it doesn't suit, don't try and make it work. I think that's the biggest thing, because the more efficient you are in this market, the quicker you can get ahead, and then the less you're paying over time. So like really identifying what is the must-haves, nice-to-haves, but also what your money buys you, because there's no point of going out there and shopping and thinking this is what it gets you. If you can get that information in front of you, you can actually put yourself in front. But yeah, it can be a little bit of an information overload, and there's a lot of variety of different methods. So if you're not quite accustomed to it, it can throw a massive spanner for a lot of people.
It's funny, that word murky is almost going to come up every time we talk about something within this space.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be any, like where we have like 2,700, 800 properties on the market, from all the way up to Alkimos down to Mandurah, and that's like villas, apartments, land, everything. And then we're still getting the transactions, but the numbers of appraisals are probably less. Everyone's probably waiting for more stock to come on, but it's not coming on, and people are holding out. And then there's talks of interest rates coming down. So that there's a lot going on.
And we caught up earlier this year, I think it was about March, when we noticed coming into November, December last year, when the market we thought was really hot, and it had cooled down a little bit because people were exhausted. There was just that feeling of just buyer fatigue. Are you seeing that starting to creep into the market, or not yet?
Not yet. I think early December it would. Because obviously at the moment, late November, a typical contract might be 35 days, 45 days, which takes us to 15th of December. I think people, unless you can start doing a shorter settlement, no one wants to settle past the 15th of December to even, I would say, the 24th of Jan. Banks are away. Most of us are away. It's a bit of a nightmare. I always tell my office that there's no chance anyone's putting settlements, and it's something I really look at. So whenever someone's writing a contract at the moment, you just want to make sure it doesn't settle around that period. And you'll probably start to see sellers be like, well, it's starting to lean towards Christmas. I'd rather not have this thought of preparing my home, having it on the market. And what we saw this time last year is it really dropped off in December. There was good buying opportunities if you can structure the settlements, the timelines really well, because maybe a lot of people will get fatigued because it is moving rapidly. And even talking to a lot of agents, so the appraisals are moving to early Feb as well. So people want to be more in line with school times, school holidays, have a bit of time off. I think it's been a pretty tough year for lots of people, and we say that every year. Like, the economy is what it is. So I think it'll probably, November will be, I think, pretty bullish. The back end of this month will be as well, and I think early December will start to probably simmer out in regards to stock, but also probably just buyer activity, because I feel like people will start to go on holidays and do other things, and then probably Feb, March, I think it'll probably be the push for summer that we should have probably had. I think there'll be a lot more confidence maybe had around the Christmas table, and that's where people actually can actually have a conversation and talk about what's occurred and what are the plans for 2026.
I guess it does rely a little bit on the RBA announcement. That's, I think the prediction of a rate cut is now at 70% based on how poor the job data was
Correct.
last week. So it's an interesting one around interest rates, because it doesn't actually affect your borrowing capacity that much. It's about 2% increase
It's
per
just
rate
confidence.
cut. Yeah.
And that's the thing that in this market now you're getting on the back page, front page, anything you open, the Perth market's moving, and that's what spurs on like more growth in the area as well in good suburbs and it's just the basic fundamentals. Like you want to be in a good school zone, so that price point will change because of that, and there's more confidence.
In terms of strategies you're seeing, like so you say you're talking to someone that's a buyer. You talking to buyers every single day,
Yeah.
and agents and sellers. But is there a common theme or a common question that you feel you're repeating yourself every single day? Like what would those questions generally be?
A lot of them is obviously to do like off market. I think like why would a seller sell off market? I get that asked a lot, or like what's the advantage of using me in comparison to going to market and stuff like that. So you get those questions, or everyone wants the crystal ball about what the market's going to do, and you can only look at historic. And I think everyone just wants to know what else is out there. I think that's the questions. Like first and foremost, like the off market piece. A lot of people are trying to do bridging. A lot of people no such thing as subsale. Unfortunately, there's a lot of divorce as well. So people want to keep things confidential. Talk about the 3 Ds when you're selling or buying. It's death, divorce, and debt. They're the main three. Very morbid, but that's kind of the way it works.
Yeah.
So you kind of that does occur a lot. People don't know what their house is worth. So the higher price point you go, there's not as many transactions. So there's a bigger gap. So you really got to be across the market, and that's where people fall short. So they might look to advertise to sell the home off market because they're not quite confident in maybe what it is and need some feedback before maybe going to market. That's a big one, but it's also just like what else is out there. I think it's the biggest one. Every time I meet a buyer, they're like, gee, is this achievable? Is this what is happening? And all the information they're getting is probably 3 months old, whereas I'm on the ground every day and you're speaking to everyone, you know what things are selling for, you know the buyers that are buying the property, you know their circumstances about why they're paying more, but the average buyer doesn't. So they look at it on a face value and something could sell for $2,050,000, but they don't know that the reason why is that the person that bought it is having a child next week and they put a massive offer in. So then you've got to know everything.
So anyone that is listening or especially watching, if there's ever a person that's looking at a property or has purchased one, and I ask Rowan about that property, you know every single sale that's happened in your area.
Yep.
There's nothing that gets through your gate without you seeing it.
Well, that's why we do what we do. Like being a buyer's agent, you need to specialize and know more than anyone else. If I know more and see more, I can offer that insight and it gets the buyer that I'm working with at that present time in front. So there's no point of hiring a generalist when you've got someone that's a specialist and knows everything that's going on. But that's something I pride myself on because in this market, because of the low transactions, the low stock, you've got to be across everything because that's where mistakes happen.
Do you think there will be a change in the way that transactions occur in the real estate market in the next 5 years? Do you think because there's a lot of people involved. So if we're even just looking at if there's a buyer's agent, selling agent, buyer, seller, settlement agent, mortgage broker, bank in the background, credit assessors, like there's just a huge amount of people that are involved in one transaction. Do you think there's going to be a time where that starts to simplify, or do you think there's always going to be a lot of people involved?
I think there's always going to be a lot of people just for compliance. I think that's the biggest thing, and there's so much to take on if you start like doing like 3 roles, 4 roles, whereas there's so many factors that go into buying a home, and obviously the way the price point in the Perth market is going, it's getting to an extreme, and how often are people paying that sort of money or understanding it is substantial amount of money, no matter what you're buying. It's everyone's savings at that present time. So you need parties to represent you in different facets. So you can't have too many people wearing the same hat is what I look at. And then you can really leverage on people's experience because rather than be the best in their field for that instead of just helping the whole way through. Obviously, like maybe if the auction process comes in, you might eliminate a fair bit, but you still need your broker in the background to be like, okay, this is what you can bid at. You still need the buyer's agent to show you where value is. You still need the settlement agent to make sure the contract goes through. Still need the selling agent to obviously run and facilitate. Then you throw an auctioneer, you still need the buyer and seller. You forgot to add in the buyer's parents as well every now and then.
Well, generally the buyer's dad.
Yeah.
It's always the
So
dad.
there's just little things that like I think they might become a bit more streamlined in maybe the contract process. I think, and if the auction, obviously WA is renowned for being the Wild West for the way that we do our contracts, just because it's a bit different in that regard. But obviously, we've got settlement agents over east that have the lawyers that review everything. So it's very upfront for what you're in for early, whereas we know what you're in for post like finance or post acceptance. So I think that's the major difference.
You definitely get to secure the property. You can get gazumped in some parts of the East Coast.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't come in because that would just become really... And they have cooling off periods.
Yep.
So you have like a 48-hour cooling off period. So you can change your mind.
Yeah, and there's a lot of emotions that go into this. Are you finding that obviously there's a purchase price, which is what it is. As you said, go in hard if you're going in early. In some cases, in most cases, deposits there to secure the transaction. You've then got your finance component and you've got your settlement. And we've touched on the settlement. Finance-wise, a cash offer, as people don't generally understand, is not necessarily all cash.
Yep.
Also, a finance clause in Perth is generally 3 weeks. Generally.
Yeah, 21 days. 21.
Yeah. And so are you finding that people are playing around with that component of an offer to be more enticing for a seller?
You kind of have to be. Depends who you're competing with. Like, there was a property the other day, like Melbourne buyers, they don't have finance clauses, so they just go in cash. And so then they're confident, even though they're 21 days, they might be pre-approved, they're confident they're going to make it work. It's just understanding what you're up against. So if you need to draw back on shorting the days, changing that, and being confident in what you're doing. Whereas if you're not confident, sometimes you might just have to pay a bit more to entice the seller to take it. So if you're less risk averse, and it's person to person where it changes, because you can't tell someone who's very risk adverse and very detail orientated, like, hey, we've got to go cash, even though they're 21 days. There is a risk element to that. So getting them to know, like, maybe you might have to pay a little bit more to get your offer worked with, because it gives the seller more confidence. And that's all you need to do in this market. And it's just having those conversations. Not as the agent's not going to be as forthcoming as that, but it's trying to ask the questions in a roundabout way to get the information that you need.
And I guess that's where people do get a bit scared or nervous around asking the question, because they don't want to be too intrigued or whatever. They don't want to scare the agent off. But there's no harm in asking, right?
Yeah, it's just like building rapport as well. Like if you go about it in a way that's, I think a lot of people, when they do negotiate, is it's a win at all costs, or it's me v you, and it's a very aggressive tactic. In this market, it's going to rub people the wrong way a lot of the time. Whereas if you're a bit more honest in your approach and you're forthcoming, people are going to do that with you. So you've really got to test the waters about what's achievable and what's not, and try and get as much information as you can, because there's hundreds of people. You're just a number at the moment. You've got to separate yourself from that numbers.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, well, like, how long have you been looking in the market? If you're looking in Wembley, like, how well do you know the number one agent, like, who's obviously Craig Gaspar? But like little things like that, like how do you get yourself in front with the terms, with building rapport? So there's so many facets you've got to, so many levers you've got to pull on to make sure that you can get yourself in front. And then someone can come in and blow you out the water and pay 150 grand above, and you're like, well, that's the market.
Just got to be comfortable with that walkaway price.
Correct.
Are you seeing much around the way of a transfer of wealth that's starting to happen? I know I'm seeing a lot more first home buyers having an early inheritance, for example, and family helping pre-passing away. Are you seeing a bit of that from a parents helping or children getting gifted money?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, especially in the suburbs that I work in. You're starting to see it more commonly. Maybe it might be like they've had their first home, which is the villa, or like their 3x1, in order to get them to the second home. That's where it's getting topped up, I'm finding. because obviously the parents can identify like the market we're in, and they've probably gone through the '07 market, they've been through the '80s as well. So there's a lot of information that they have. They're like, well, next time, and it'll be the same conversation we would have. Like when I have children and with your kids, they're like, where the market's going, you're like, I'm buying you something because I know how profitable this can be and how aggressive it can be because we've all been in that cycle before, whereas a lot of us haven't. So that's the difference between the two. But yeah, I'm starting to see a lot more.
I saw one recently, which I'm fascinated by structure in terms of the way an entity is purchasing the property. So obviously, anyone listening, you've got individuals that can purchase it. You've also got other vehicles that can purchase it, trusts, companies, whatever it might be. And a really interesting way of doing it was a family buying within a family trust with a company as the trustee, and changing the director of that company trustee is quite a fascinating way of being able to transfer properties without necessarily selling to a different entity.
Correct. Yep.
I love creative ways of doing it. Obviously, that's not advice for anyone here, but if you did have questions around that, talk to your financial advisor and accountant and all that sort of stuff. But are you seeing some creative ways around transfers of wealth in that respect?
Yeah, 100%. Even just what people are buying and how they're going about it. Yeah. And because they're trying to maximize the Perth market. And obviously things to do with like the land tax and other tax purposes and negative gearing, go through that spiel a lot of the time. But yeah, people are becoming a bit more switched on in regards to that and asking more appropriate questions and really trying to push the boundaries because it's a market that people are trying to maximize in.
Yeah, and the other one now I'm thinking of it is purchasing, and the parents buy with the kid as a silent purchaser, and so they're not necessarily an applicant or a borrower, but they own a percentage of the property that's being purchased. It's really interesting. So if anyone does want more info, I think we've done a podcast on this. We have, with Aidan Wilkins. So I guess taking it in terms of the positive light, what's some positives you can take from this market?
You can still buy well. It's just getting all the information in front of you. The fact that people are unsure is that you can use that to your advantage by getting the relevant information, the knowledge, the know-how, and the expertise. You still can get in front of other people because people are unsure what the next steps are. Whereas if you're confident this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and don't forget why you're doing it. If it's 10, 20, 30 years, it's your family home, it's to getting into the school zones, never compromise on those things. But because of the lack of transactions, there are times where there might be agents who aren't quite sure what the market's doing. They might appraise something wrong. And if you have the information, you see everything, you know what things are selling for, you can buy it well because not everyone's across everything. Because it is, like I said, we use that catchphrase, murky. It's murky for everyone. So if you can provide a bit more light on the fact that there are things that are transacting, there are off-market sales, privy to things that maybe other people don't know, that's how you get yourself in front, and you can still transact well and buy a property for the sake of if you're holding it for 30 years.
Yeah, and it kind of always comes back to when's the right time to buy, and there just is never a right time.
Obviously, it's when you're ready, and you're ready to make that step. You can make the repayments. It's not something that when you're buying your home, you buy your home no matter what the market's doing because it's something you love, and that's the part of it. And I think some people get caught up in that, trying to make money on their home. Yes, it's like we can go through all the tax purposes of that, but that's not why I'm here. It's to talk about like why you're living in that home is more important. Making sure you have the right lifestyle, you're not compromising on things just for the sake of making a bit of money in time.
It's hard not to see the money when there's so many zeros involved in it now. As we round out, because I always love the way that you can simplify something that is quite complex, especially this property market. Verve, new office, where's it up to? Where is it? And what's going on with that?
So at 368 Hay Street, we're across the road from Found, which is a very dangerous on a Friday. We've moved in. We're just waiting for the glass to be installed. Obviously, we've got windows and stuff. So that would be nice. Really looking forward to getting everyone there when I can. But yeah, been a bit of a project, obviously moving across. But we're already starting to feel out the seats, which is one part of it. So, really excited to get that underway.
And the team is still growing.
Still growing. Probably only got one more position to kind of fill. So if anyone
There
wants
we
to
go.
be a buyer's agent in Applecross and Mount Pleasant, please let me know. But apart from that, yeah, I think I've got most areas covered and just really focus on the core group of people I've got. Love working with them. So, yeah, really proud of where everyone is at the moment.
I didn't even need to ask you about the proudness because you've already got that there.
Yeah.
Like I love what your business is doing. I think one of the favorite parts about doing this pod is that it's a timestamp, and I can't wait to look back at it in 12 months, 2 years, and maybe we go, what were we thinking? Like, why didn't we mention this or this? But there's no crystal ball, so
No, and it's just like living in the moment as well.
Yeah.
You enjoy it. You're very much the same, and everyone that's trying to make their way. So it's exciting, and yeah, I just enjoy what I do each day. And I know the market's not ideal for everyone. Everyone's very heightened and emotional, but you can get joy out of helping people work through this market. I think that's a massive positive.
we'll round out on that because that's the perfect way to finish it. Thanks, mate.
Easy, mate, anytime.
Thank you so much for listening. It's amazing to have you as part of this community for That Backyard Property Pod. Remember, please hit like, subscribe, follow, and send through any questions that you have. We cannot wait to see you again next Tuesday. If you can't wait though, remember we have minis that come out every Thursday, which go into a little bit more depth into the lending and mortgage world. Thanks again, and can't wait to see you again.